All right, so let's get this party started. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. As you can tell, I am not David. I am taking over as co-host while David is on vacation. So I hope you all bear with me. I'm Megan Bergsm. I'm the social media manager. And we have a really great rollover going on over here with two CEOs kind of talking about their companies, how they are able to, go through the challenges of last year and pick up where it is now. So we have a wonderful guest speaker, Ed Knutson from Dimation, and his company has engineering services, quick turn proto assembly, production assembly, and die level services. And we have our ever so grateful Dr. Bill Cardoso from Creative Electron. So take on over.
David never introduces me, Megan, so you made a mistake right there. David he usually just ignores me. Like, yeah, we have a great guest, and there's another guy who's always here.
You gotta, be able to say who's the host and who's the guest.
Yeah. So exactly.
Yeah, that's the difference between me and David.
There you go. Under the beard, of course. So Ed is a great friend. We've been, brother from another mother. And so Ed, why don't you give us a quick introduction to Dimation and how, you guys have been able to stay alive and kicking and relevant and pushing forward despite all the, issues you had in the past few years.
Oh yeah, we have those. We call them bumps in the road, right?
Yeah, little bumps in the road.
Or I don't know. It kind of helps develop the personality of the person too, right?
Well, builds character, right? There you go.
Yeah. So I'm the owner of Dimation. I created the company. Oh my gosh, I was laid off from a job. I needed to do something, and I was kind of in a pickle because I just got remarried to a beautiful gal from Brazil and no job, no insurance. And so I created Dimation as a provider of a service that was customized to the customer itself. So It was kind of like the 1-2 place. I wanted to have that ability to provide the electronic services at a very customizable type format. So we do prototypes, we do production, and we do die level services, which is getting into the microelectronics world. So we've created that and built a good base from it. So, and obviously the key is fast, quick turn. So you got Jimmy John's, right? They're so fast.
Exactly.
Dimation is so fast we flip for you. But that ties to the BGAs and flip chips. But
yeah, and what I like about what you guys do is that not only you customize the service, but you customize the process, right, to what the customer needs. So it's a real one-stop shop, right?
And it's packaging. Developing processes that maybe don't even exist yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kind of like going to Las Vegas and seeing Chris Angel and talk about levitation. We've had an opportunity where a customer wanted us to develop a process to die attach a die to a board, but it was levitated. So it was basically suspended in air, and that's an impossible thing, right?
But you did it anyway.
Yeah, well, nothing's ever impossible. You just got to do what you got to do. If a person wants to give you money to develop something, develop it.
Exactly. Well, my grandpa used to say that with enough thrust, even pigs fly. So
that's right.
It's all about the thrust.
Yeah, you got a boatload of money and you want to put it into something to make something new. When we do it, it's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, you're the guy to call. Now, what's the and I remember, many times, you told me how, you get a job Friday, 6:00 in the afternoon, and it's done by Saturday morning, right? And you you get it delivered and you get it done. And, I have so many questions. So in this world of COVID, right? And, going back to last year where everything got thrown up in the air, how did your business model got changed or got improved because of this new reality we live in?
Well, I think the interesting part was we already provide that service is very custom to the individual, to the company.
Mm-hmm.
COVID was kind of a nasty reality check, because when you were used to being able to serve something very quickly because you can, now all of a sudden you can't get the parts.
Yeah.
And when you can't get the parts, now it's more of a excruciating experience, because what you could used to do really quickly, now you gotta stop and you gotta find out where you're gonna get them. And then when you do get them, are the parts real or are they counterfeit? So, I mean, I think the negative part is it was a disaster trying to do what you normally would do. The benefit of it was there was other things that came from it that made it even better, because when you did something and you completed it quicker than you normally could have, because you have the delays in getting something, the customers are like rejuvenated. They're like, wow, this is really cool. We couldn't do this, but you actually took a die and put it in the package and circumvented the having to get it packaged over in Asia.
So are you
like, wow.
Are you dusting off some technologies and some services that you hadn't done in a while because now people are asking for it?
Right. Well, it's kind of like the technology has been there for a long time, but we've got so custom here in the United States to send it overseas. Now it's not being done here. But I'm fortunate that I've got the background of it, that we were able to provide that. And that was like, oh my gosh, can we do this more? So will it be more? That's the big question.
Yeah. So are you, you touched on the counterfeit problem and supply chain disruptions that we're all experiencing. I mean, if any of you out there, I mean, we're recording this, we're live and recording it July 1st, 2021, right? A piece of plywood, Home Depot right now, 4x8 is about $120, right?
Yep.
It's insane, right? So, are you experiencing, and the whole supply chain has been disrupted, and we have delays and, issues. And then with that, you have the counterfeits, right? Or criminal entities coming in and filling up those supply chain gaps with fake components. We have this Fireside Chat for the past a couple of episodes. We had ERAI, and we have Andrea Oliveira to talk about supply chain issues. From from your shop, how are you experiencing those things where you have the order and you just can't fulfill it?
We have it a lot. I mean, I'll give you another problem that we have that nobody's really talking about. And I don't know if you heard about it either, but it's basically that epoxy syndrome.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
tell us about it. What's the epoxy syndrome? Because I know that's a term you coined, right? So what is the epoxy syndrome?
So I've termed it the epoxy syndrome because back many years ago, microelectronics, when we did that here in the United States, a lot of those components were mounted using conductive epoxy. Now you have the automotive industry using a lot of this technology, but you can't get the plastics really hot because it melts. So now they're using these components that have to be mounted with epoxy. And that part is the same part as another part that gets soldered down to a board. Problem is that you can't solder down a epoxy part. It'll connect, but it doesn't really connect.
So it's about
you don't know about
the metals they use and how those surfaces are treated to wet, to low temp epoxy, or a proper reflow cycle with solder, right? And you can't just
terminations. The construction of that is highly critical. And a normal person doesn't know what it is. He just says, oh, they have it available. I'm going to grab it, not knowing, can't use it. So that's another injection of, oh my, into a reality of where we're at and where we're going to go.
And the problem is, how do you find out, right? You have a stack of, 47 picofarad caps. You put them in your boards. You think they're perfectly fine, right?
They look just like a normal cap.
They look just like a normal cap. Right? Same color, same shape, same size. So how do you find out?
So when I found out what happens, we had 5 companies that come in during that week. 4 of them were consignment, where they provide the parts. One was a turnkey.
Yeah.
We had one part that was actually not available, and the customer gave us an alternate. So now we bought the alternate. We went to build the board, and we have internally a video. It's basically a visual check of the collapse of the BGA. So every single board that we build that has a BGA, we X-ray it, and then we actually take a look at a side view of it to see what the collapse looks like.
Yeah, look at the fillet to make sure everything looks good and the heel.
During that check, the user basically was saying, "Oh my God, this looks weird. There's a line, kind of like a knit line on the component." And I went and looked at it, and I'm going, "Yeah, it looks like it's flowing, but it doesn't look like it's connected."
Oh, I see.
And then I zoom up, and I'm looking, going, "Yeah, it's like a separation, and it's not actually touching and intermetallically bonding to that termination, and therefore it's not working." But when you look at it through a AOI system, solder looks like it's flowed, but it can't really see that it's disconnected. And then when I saw that, that's when I went and I found the data sheet, and the data sheet says this cannot be used in a solder process.
Of course, that warning is in big red letters, right? That right on the first page. Right?
Yeah, nope. There was nothing much to really sing a tune on that one, except for Digi had nothing, and it just said it was used for the surface mount process. It called it out, but it didn't say anything, big warning letters, until I called a meeting with them, and then I showed it to them, and it was like the oh my moment. And then they put the name, they basically put epoxy use only right by the picture of it.
So that's and we're gonna put a link to that if you don't mind. I know you wrote a white paper about it. We're gonna put a link to this video to how to access the white paper. But I think
actually, IPC is in the process of reviewing that.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping to get the blessing so we can actually get it posted, because it's still there. It's still an issue, and not too many know about it.
And that's a warning for buyers out there, right? Who are going, do a scavenging hunt, looking for components online. And if you find it, just make sure that you are buying. If you need an epoxy mount, or if you need a solder refill process, that you're buying the right components, right? The right process. And for counterfeiters, it's very easy to just swap them, right? And get the wrong one. So it's another warning sign. If you see something wrong, that might be what you were experiencing, right? That you put down some epoxy-only components, and it's just not going to reflow right?
Yep, that's right.
Because the solder is not going to wet to that metallic surface that's designed for.
It just looks like it's flowing, but it doesn't connect.
Yeah. It's like there's a shield, right, protecting the component from adding to the solder.
Yeah.
Now, this is appreciate you bringing that up, because that's a huge deal. And I know all these things are happening, right? And this pandemic happened right when you guys were in an expansion mode, right? You had a ribbon cutting ceremony like 5 minutes before shutdown, right?
Yeah, it was one of those oh my moments. You go to Brazil and then you get a phone call, "Hey Ed, you better come back."
Oh, but wait! First, you got to be screened and tested and put in quarantine, right, for a while.
That's right. Yeah, I got a beautiful picture in front of when you walk into the office of a boat. That was what I saw the night that I was put in quarantine. made a good thing out of a bad thing, right?
Yeah, you have to. But tell us about the checkup, the expansion.
Yeah. So what happened is I was actually in Brazil, and I got a text message from a guy saying, "Hey, Ed, one of your relationships is laying off some people, and I know you like to help those." I call it the poor lost souls, because when you lose a job, nobody knows what that feeling is unless you've been through it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've done it. I've been there several times, and obviously it's not fun. So I thought, well, if there's something that I can do to help people try to find another place to be, I would like to do that. So when I got this text message saying, "Hey, one of your relationships is laying off 63 people," I reached out to the vice president of that company. And I told him, I said, "Hey, I said, I hear you're laying off. I said, if there's anything I can do to help out, I would love to bring in my HR person to have them interview anybody that would like to be interviewed. And it's informal interview, but we just want to know who it is, who they are, and what we can do to maybe help." And so I said, "Is that something we could do?" And he says, "Well, sure. Can you come in tomorrow?" And I said, "Unfortunately, I'm in Brazil. It's going to be a couple days before I get back, but I'd love to do it when I get back." So I did. And when I did get back, I got the tour of the facility. And not only did I get the tour of the facility, but I also got to meet the people that were getting let go. And that was kind of the hard moment, because
did they know that, Ed? Like, did they know they were going to be laid off? They knew.
And that was the thing about it. So the VP of the company was very transparent. And he said that what I have is I got 3 groups of people that are going to be let go. It's going to be the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And so essentially 3 separate layoffs. And obviously the ones that are the last ones are the most concerning ones, because that's going to make or break the business. And so obviously the whole idea was get rid of the equipment, retain the ones that could do the other work. So what was the date they were going to phase the equipment out? And then once that happened, then you're going to have like 20 some people let go. So when we were talking, it was a kind of a heartfelt moment, because the guy was really close to these people. Some of them were there for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And now he had to go and lay them off. And he knew himself what that feels like, because he went through a big layoff very similar many years before. So now he's talking to this guy that come back from Brazil with a nice dark tan. And he's saying, "Hey," he says, "anything you can do, that would be great." And I looked at him and I said, "So you're showing me all these people, and then you're walking me by all this equipment. So what's going on with the equipment?" He says, "Well, what we're doing is we're already have somebody that's interested in, they put in their interest towards buying it. So we have actually one company that wants to buy it, and then anything he doesn't want to buy, we have another company that wants to buy that, whatever the residuals is."
Sure.
He said, "So none of that is open for discussion. It's just the people." And then I said to him, is the company that's buying the equipment, are they taking any employees? And he said, no. He said, they're not interested in that. And I said, well, what if you had a company that would buy the equipment, hire the employees that work the equipment, and then, oh, by the way, you're not moving out of this building, right? No. Well, what if that company subleased that equipment?
Yeah.
Would that be a great thing? And he said, yeah, well, who would do that? And I said, well, I would.
Who's crazy enough to do that?
So we, that was an interesting time. So we bought the equipment, and we actually interviewed, I think, 25 people.
Wow.
That wanted to look at going to this other company. And I think the number that we finally got was 23 that finally accepted.
Wow. So
we actually bought the equipment. We got the ability to do production work, because now we have the equipment, we have the people that ran the equipment. So we instantly kind of like bought a company in the box, because we got the production equipment, the production people, the box build people, the cable people, and then the conformal coating people.
Wow.
And so that gave me an instant opportunity to service more customers with another level of opportunity. And so we were successful with doing that transaction. And then we were in that building for a year. And then the next year, they did the same thing where they started to lay off another bunch of people. This time they said we weren't going to renew your lease. So that was a bad thing. Now I have Burnsville and I have Eden Prairie, and my lease is going to be due at the end of March. And guess when they notified? March 1st.
March 1st. Oh,
so March 1st, I'm being told that I'm not going to be able to lease the building anymore. And my lease for my Burnsville facility was due at the end of March.
Jeez.
So I wasn't able to bring in the Eden Prairie office because it was too big. I didn't have any space.
Wow.
So now I'm forced with trying to find a building to put both parts of the business together. And that's when we came to Shakopee, and I walked in the building and it was like home.
Wow.
And it was just like, it was a gift that just laid there. I mean, it was exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
Didn't have to do hardly anything other than a little bit of a build out in the back.
But other than that, plug and play.
Yeah. I mean, we put in the back, the front office with nothing changed.
Wow.
None of the offices in front, to the conference rooms, all that stuff, the kitchen, everything was all perfect. The only thing we did is we added in a room for the die-level services. So we could
like a clean room. Yeah.
And then we put in our conformal area.
Got it.
And then we put in an office area for the supervisors in the back, and then another. And that was it.
But let's be clear here for people who are watching this, that we're not talking about setting shop in San Jose or New York or places where there are thousands and millions of jobs, right? These are cities where you are making a huge impact, right? Bring that technology and bring those jobs. I mean, it's a huge impact, right? 20 jobs, 30 jobs, 50 jobs. That's a significant portion of that community, right? And if you multiply that with the spouses and the kids and, the fast food restaurant that supplies them, I mean, there's this shockwave of the impact, right? 20 jobs lost in that community. They feel it, right?
Well, you brought in jobs and then you brought technology.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a company called Seagate here in Shakopee. But some of the things that we do at this company, at my company, they don't do over there, and we do it for them. So now you have this huge, big company here, but even some of that technology that they're doing, they're not doing it there. They're outsourcing it. And now they have a local partner right down the street.
Down the street, instead of having to, offshore it or, send it to the other side of the country, right? It's huge, huge, huge value, huge value. And that's something we deeply believe in, which is engagement to the local community, right? And to give back and to engage. And that's why I know we don't have, we'll be talking for 5 hours like we usually do at. But I wanna talk about something, and I know you don't, but I want to make sure people know how amazing you are at giving back, right? At being incredibly generous of your time and volunteering way beyond what a busy CEO like you are usually do. Talk to us about SMTA, for example, right? And all the time you put in, and all the events you promote in your local chapter, and the education push you do, the internships. Tell us about that and how Dimation is engaged and how you engaged.
Yeah, well, SMTA has been kind of like another segment of Ed's life where a dream come true. Obviously, when I was asked to be the president of the Upper Midwest chapter, it was a total honor. It was something that I never thought that I would ever be asked to do that. And when it happened, it was like, oh my God, this is great. So now what can I do with it? and what can we do with the community, and try to promote opportunities for others. Obviously, the young professionals was pretty cool, getting involved in that. And, recently we had a CAPS program with high school in Shakopee, and getting these students involved in an industry that they didn't really know much of.
Yeah.
And then when they came in and they saw it, it was like, oh my God, it was the excitement, it was an explosion that was like, you couldn't even capture it because it was so big.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, going to the high school and then having all these teachers say, Ed, what you did with these students was amazing. They come here and they say, we saw the coolest things over there at Dimation, right down the street. And this is just incredibly cool stuff. Yeah. And then they talk to somebody else that's working, doing the internship with the city and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, we saw the street and how they do this, painting the lines on the street.
Yeah.
Really high tech. But, and then Jake is saying, oh my God, you should have seen these cool little thing that they're doing that goes inside of a person's brain that helps that individual that can't walk now, because there's these sensors that are actually implanted in the person's skull that are actually actuating the nerves of the body.
Yeah. And again, all valuable jobs, right? If you're painting roads, whatever, all valuable jobs are important jobs for society. And I think what the value is the ability to see what clicks with different people, right? And what you're doing is giving them another option, right? An option or exposure to a whole universe they never thought existed or was possible.
Never knew about it. Right?
Never know about it. And how do you know if you're going to get excited about something if you don't know that something exists, right?
Exactly. So, so the SMTA, obviously integrating there was to be able to reach out to people that are not even in our industry to try to get their interest. And then through the schools, getting their interest and, bringing them more into what we're doing. And because there's a lot of us older SMTA people out there, we got new ones who got to come in to be able to rejuvenate what we're going to be replacing as people retire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, sorry,
Finish what you're going to say. Finish what you're going to say, Bill. Go for it.
No, I was going to say that we keep talking about the gray tsunami, right? Of the people with gray hair in the industry retiring all at once and leaving it. But I was going to say that doesn't apply to Ed and I because we have, we're follicular challenged, so we don't gray, right, Ed?
No, that's right. It's kind of that smooth look. Yeah.
It's all the brain power, just burns it up,
All right. This is going to be the 2-minute warning. I just wanted to have Ed say the last few minutes here. What do you see in the future for your company and Dimation? Where do you see it grow now that, we had this pandemic and how it kind of shifts the focus?
I think it's like I said, it's kind of like the Star Trek thing. We're going to go above and beyond and continue. Knowing what we know, it was bad. It was an ugly, ugly thing, but the determination to continue to provide products to the customer, I think, is exceptionally solid. And understanding the hiccups we had, what can we do to even make it even better? Learn from it. And if you think of the pandemic, all the bad things that happened, what were all the good things that happened that nobody's talking about?
Yeah.
How clean is the world compared to what it was before the pandemic? Are the animals thriving? Are there certain things that we see? If you're in India and you're looking out at the mountains and you can't see them, now you might be able to see them because of what happened.
Yeah.
So for Dimation, I think it's going to be, what can we do for the customer? And we're going to continue to try to knock it out of the park for them because that's what we need to do.
Well done, my friend.
Yeah, well said.
I had an exciting time Saturday. I was at the office doing some computer work, and I got a phone call. And I answer my phone now with homicide. You get all these spam risks, and I'm going homicide, and the guy says, Hey, Ed, this is Jason. I have an emergency. He says, we have a package that's supposed to be on the plane at 5:30 tonight.
Jeez.
And he says, it's for the big fruit company. And he says, we broke a part on the board and we are down. Can I bring it over and get it fixed? Please, are you available? And I said, I'm here. Bring it over.
Nice. Nice.
And we did. We got it fixed, and it was on his plane going to an undisclosed location for the fruit company.
There you go. And that's why, if you want to know more about Ed's secrets of success, just give him a call in his office Saturday night. Right, Ed?
That's right.
All right.
Be on the phone a while.
All right, Ed, thank you so much for being our guest speaker for this segment of Fireside Chat. It was really great to have the two CEOs kind of just discussing their companies and really getting to know more about what you do over at Shakopee.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much, Ed. I'll talk to you soon.
Very good. Thank you.
Bye.